Awesome. Well, welcome everyone to our industry analysis. My name is Amelia Bronkhorst. I'd like to introduce a couple other group members. We have Al Ledger and Tony LaRosa. For our group project, we chose the electric vehicle industry. We chose this industry because we believe it is rapidly growing and also addressing CSR concerns actively within this industry. I'd like to go over a little bit of the history of this industry. Actually, surprisingly to me, the first electric car was actually in 1835. It was a steam powered, but also had electric components to it. In the early 1900s, this phrase of an electric car actually kind of tapered off a little bit because there was combustion engines made. This just kind of became the norm of most cars till about World War II. In World War II, there was actually a petroleum shortage, and that's why the electric vehicle actually became more of a pressing matter to be produced, and as there was not a lot of gas. In about the 1980s, the U.S. Department of Energy actually started funding this industry, and it grew a lot from then. In the 2000s, Toyota produced the hybrid, the first hybrid, mass-produced hybrid, which is the Toyota Prius, which we're all familiar with today, and it kind of just grew from there. But that was the main first individual could buy a hybrid or an electric vehicle. If all of you would mind switching the slide. All right. And so kind of the trend of what the electric vehicle market is going into now, it's expected in about 10 years, in 2030, to grow by 18%. The industry also saw an increase just last year in over 60%, which is a huge increase from where it was at, if you can see from that graph in the bottom there. Forbes projects it to be growing into about $140 billion by 2028, which is a pretty huge increase. If you could switch slides. Alec, could you switch? Thank you. And so basically, there is still barriers getting a consumer to buy this EV or electric vehicle. A lot of those concerns are in charging, distance from a charge, and then also the cost of buying a vehicle. There are a couple current marketing tactics around this to kind of overcome those barriers. One of them is emphasizing the monetary savings from charging and not having to use gasoline. Another is a federal credit. There's lots of federal kickbacks, federal credits, federal tax credits from using an electric vehicle. There are also a lower impact on the carbon footprint by using these vehicles. I'd like to transition to my group member, Tony, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the companies that are actively really popular in this market.
Yeah, so Amelia has talked about how the electric vehicle was invented back in the 1800s. I'm going to talk about the industry pioneers of the latest technology in electric vehicles. We have Tesla, Rivian, and NIO. Tesla was the first to produce an electric car in 2008. From there, they sparked the worldwide adoption of electric vehicles. Um, they have now are the world's largest, most popular uh, electric vehicle company, and they have sold over 300,000 as of today. Their main feat was developing superchargers that developed their electric vehicles battery to 80% in 30 minutes. They have they have installed 27,000 chargers in over 40 countries, and Rivian was founded in 2009. The company attracted attention for rugged and adventure focused EVs, and their main goals are to make the vehicles more environmentally friendly and for practical use. Next is Neos is a Chinese electric company that was founded in 2014, and main feat, their main innovation for the industry is their battery swapping technology, which eliminates the charging wait time. And the next slide. So there's two risks that come along with this electric vehicles in the industry. The one is are the EV batteries, which can cause environmental issues. One is that they have shorter lifetime compared to regular uh, automotive engines, and only 5% of the batteries get recycled. According to Green Cars, the International Energy Agency tells us that electric vehicles require 6 times the mineral input of a gasoline powered vehicle. So it requires a lot of nickel, lithium, cobalt, and copper, which deteriorates the whole entire earth through the processes. For example, lithium takes 18 months to extract. It takes 18 months to extract lithium using 500 gallons of water just for a single ton, just for each ton. Next slide. Another risk are the public charging stations, since Tesla has installed over 27,000 with including other companies. It brings a risk that the public charging stations are physically there. It includes the likelihood of fire hazards, and when people or when the general public are charging there, since it's on an electric grid, they have a problem. They have a risk for cybersecurity breaches, and that would include that would lead to stolen personal information, damage to the EV components, and compromised safety systems, and other associated risks with the layout or with the location. We include the layout, safety maintenance, inspection, and repair. For example, if somebody were to wait there, charge for 30, like around 30 to an hour, people would know that they're there, so there can be some crime rates. Next slide. These are the major competitors in the industry. We have Tesla for number one, Li Autos, Lucid Motors, Neo, and Rivian. And you can see the mark caps there. All right, now I'll send it to Al.
Thank you, Tony. So as we can see, there are current electric vehicle industry CSR concerns, and some of those are the environmental harm caused by battery production, as well as the carbon footprint that is caused from electricity generation for charging the vehicles. The supply chain transparency is very concerning because of the unethical work conditions that are experienced while mining for cobalt and lithium. And the charging infrastructure accessibility is also a very important consideration that needs to be broadened as well. So the way that we can manage these concerns are having certain programs and initiatives that address the CSR concerns. So there are the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act that can help with this. So the supply chain transparency, there is a definite need for transparency when it comes to the supply chain, from upstream where raw materials are mined to downstream where the battery cell is manufactured. The 50,000 miles between both of those two leaves a lot of room for errors. So attention must be focused on the extreme work conditions in the cobalt mines of the Congo. Safety concerns such as injuries and deaths are usually often overlooked and sometimes not even reported. And as we can see from this graph here, there is a significant difference between the amount of CO2 emitted from current and future gasoline vehicles and from current and future electric vehicles as well. And here we can see a line of cars waiting to get to the charging blocks. So according to the US Department of Energy, there are only about 130,000 public EV charging ports and almost 15,000 private charging ports. There is a goal to have 50 million EVs on the road by 2030. And in order to achieve this goal, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act provide $7.5 billion in funding for 500,000 public EV charging stations to be built. So how the industry standards are enforced are by having several different organizations. One is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. They've developed safety standards specifically for electric vehicles, and electric vehicles must also meet fuel economy and emission standards set by the EPA. And the U.S. Energy Information Administration is in charge of collecting, analyzing energy information to promote appropriate policymaking. And so those are some of the things that we've got to be worried about when we are looking through and handling the electric vehicle marketing situations. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us today, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.